Welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Known Classics. This is episode number 1710 and Doubleshot number 1606. Now, this first trade I'm discussing is, of course, a Spider-Man trade, and it's the last trade to collect issues from Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Volume 2. Volume 1 I've already fully discussed. I discussed that, the main series about a few years ago, and the last thing I covered for that volume was basically the other. This one's from the second volume by Tom Taylor. The original volume was done by Peter David, which I believe was released from 2005 to about 2007. The final issue was actually started to have a crossover known as the other, the first 4 issues anyways, and the last issue was released as part of the most hated Spider-Man story of all time, One More Day. And luckily Marvel waited a long period to bring this series back, because this actually was one of the very few titles Marvel had never bring back when it comes to Spider-Man. And I was kind of surprised about the series back. Now, this second volume, the first volume only contained the first 6 issues of the series. The second volume only covered issues 7 to 12. This series was basically put as a replacement for the Peter Parker, this particular Spider-Man series by Chip Zdarsky. It basically continued that tone. Yep. Now, this book contains the last 8 issues of the series. Now, I should point out, though, they did acknowledge the Marvel Legacy numbering with this book, because the first book ended after 24 issues. By the time this book ended, this volume, it reached issue 38. Yes, in just 14 issues. Now, most of the book have a couple of different plot threads for this one. The main plot thread is basically Spider-Man investigating the whole thing with Feast. Yes, that was a homeless shelter that was originally owned. It was basically kind of like a soup kitchen in a way, run by Martin Lee, aka Mr. Negative. This was something that Dan Slott introduced post One More Day. Yes. And it's still occasionally around. It's nothing really wrong having a shelter. And, of course, Aunt May, basically May Parker, is associated with it. And there's also these shitty people who wanted to buy out the place. Oh, I should also point out this volume was done by Tom Taylor. Yes. I believe at the time this book was released, I think this was the first book he worked on that I can think of, since I think the last ongoing book he worked on for Marvel that I can personally think of was, off the top of my head, I believe it was X-Men Red. Yes, I believe it was the last official ongoing series he officially worked on when it comes to Marvel, because when it comes to Tom Taylor, here's the thing. What books do people think of when we think of Tom Taylor? Injustice. Yeah, the Justice Against Mug comics, which pretty much a good chunk of it. There's also books like, this book, All New Wolverine, the X-Men Red. Yeah. But I think it was X-Men Red. I believe that was the last official comic he actually wrote for Marvel prior to this coming out. Yes, I believe that was. I think it was either that or Hunt for Wolverine. So this came out roughly in 2019. When this book came out, roughly about 3 years ago. Actually, no. The last book he officially wrote for Marvel, to date, as of recently, it was a couple one-shots. He did Immortal Hulk Great Power, which I have discussed, great one-shot, and a free comic issue. It came out a couple years ago. During the pandemic, of course. Yes, he's mostly done some one-shots since his ongoing series wrapped up. Now, as for why this series ended to 14 issues, you're probably thinking, was it possibly the pandemic the reason why this run ended? Possibly. Let me take a look here. I think it was. I think it was ended due to the pandemic. No, it wasn't. It actually ended prior to that. Yeah, it was actually ended prior to that. Yep. And we think about the storyline that mainly did this some of the stuff goes on in this book. By the way, this book's so hostile takeovers. That's mostly wrapped up by issue number 11. Actually, it's more like 10. Yeah, it's not a really long story. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, let's see. It's wrapped up by issue number 11. They also have this character called Rumor. Yes, Rumor. And I believe this story arc was technically her debut. Yes, I believe it was. Actually, it was issue 10, my mistake. But yeah, Rumor. Yeah, she did make her debut in the first issue of this book, and she became the Rumor in issue number 2. Yes, she apparently was a Japanese. She was Japanese, and they do go to her backstory in here, where apparently because she was Japanese, she was put into an internment camp. Yes, seriously. All because she was Japanese. That was the only reason for it. And during the storyline, we have a guest star appearance in here by Boomerang. Yes, Boomerang. Now you're probably thinking, why the heck is Boomerang appearing very friendly with Spider-Man? And why does Spider-Man agree with him, despite the fact he's a known supervillain? Well, that's mainly due to Nick Spencer. He probably suggested to have make a quick guest star appearance in this book. Probably just so because at the time, when this issue came out, I think it was issue 7 or 8, I think it was, where he shows up and they have this detective appears in this book, who I think this was the only book she appeared in. Yes, I believe it was. Detective Sheriff Simmons. Great character. Yes, for some reason, she only appeared just in this comic. Yeah, I don't know why. And you would think that maybe Nick Spencer might have some plans to use her. If it was a guest star character. Nope. Kind of in a way, you can kind of think of her, because of the fact Spider-Man saved her family, you can kind of think of her as Spider-Man's Jim Gordon. That's the best way to describe this woman. And of course, they also involve, like, the Prowler in the storyline. Yes, the Prowler, who at the time had not appeared in comics in 3 years. Yes. That was the weird thing. He last appeared in the end of Clone Conspiracy, where he had a very brief ongoing series that lasted 6 issues. Now, I do not know why the book was canceled 6 issues, presumably low sales. But here's the thing. The first 5 issues were part of the Clone Conspiracy storyline. The last issue was the only issue of the entire run to feature the actual Prowler, because the first 5 issues featured a clone. Yes, I don't know if that was the fault of Dan Slott doing that. I don't know. But it seems as though, this I thought was really weird though, was the fact that after the storyline wrapped up, I don't think Prowler's been seen since then. Actually, he has. He's currently the Hornet. Yes. Because it seems as though that after issue 10 of this book, next time you see him again, won't be till King in Black. Yeah, that's the next time you see him after this one. So yes, you have his last known appearance be in issue 10 of this book. And then, like, he's since made 2 appearances, and like, okay, the last issue he appeared in was in issue 10 of this book. Was back in August 2019. That was his most recent appearance. And after that, if I can get the right thing here, he next appeared in King in Black, Planet of the Symbiotes #2. which came out last year. And that was his first appearance in almost 2 years. Yes. Now, why the 2-year absence? I have no idea. No, seriously, I have no idea why the heck this was. And then, this I thought was really weird. Here's the thing. His next appearance after that one issue of King of Black Symbiotes, his next appearance is once again not until 1 year later. In an issue, part of the Spider-Man Beyond stuff, where he takes the identity of the Hornet. Yep, and that's the first 4 issues in here. Now, the last 4 issues, aside from the fact that we have this character Rumor and, of course, the Prowler, we have issue number 11 deal with Mary Jane Watson for an issue. Not a bad idea to do. Yeah, her basically taking on some weird guy. Also, the finale has it where you kind of have it where Tony Stark hires the Prowler to work for him at the end of issue number 10. And it's weird, like I said, weird 2 years for the next appearance and 1 year. Yeah, it's weird though that you'll tell me 2 appearances since this issue in the past 3 years. 2 appearances for Javi Brown, the Prowler. I should point out that prior to him popping up in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 4 number 1, that was his first appearance at that point in 9 years. Yes, because the last appearance prior to that was actually back in the first issue of Punisher War Journal back in 2006. Yes, seriously, that was his most recent appearance prior to that. And you're thinking, really? 9 years between appearances? Yeah. And you're thinking, that's weird. Because it is. Actually, it was issue 4 he appeared in. Which was in... Actually, it was 07, actually. And then, of course, that first issue of Amazing Spider-Man, I'm like... And I'm thinking of, why the heck would there be, such a long gap? Actually, about 8 years. But why this long gap? Who the heck freaking knows? What was the reason for... the long absence. Yeah, as far as I can tell, there's been no explained reason for the long absence. If I get a chance to one of the writers who worked on some of these books, I will probably ask that question. What the heck was up with the absence for Javi Brown? Yes. Yeah, and one thing kind of odd, though, about this book, after issue 10, it's 4 straight standalone issues. Yes, this book. Issue 11 focuses on Mary Jane Watson for an issue. Teams of Miles Morales. Yes, Miles Morales makes guest appearance in this book because why the heck not? And then after that we have something with Detective, and we also there's a subplot in here where it's revealed in the book that May Parker has got cancer, and throughout the many issues of the book we see how it goes to chemo. While Spider-Man continues to fight crime for the last few issues. Mm-hmm. Yep. And, of course, you have Spider-Man team with the Fantastic Four who are in their current costumes at Ann Slott. And, by the way, this is when they were still headquartered out of Yancey Street. Yes, Yancey Street. At Apartment 4. It was an apartment owned by, I believe it was... If I remember correctly, I think it was owned by The Thing, and they moved all the equipment. Of course, it's an infinite apartment type of thing. Of course, they later on did move back into the Max building. Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, the case of Shuri Simmons, who actually does appear in this issue, I believe this was her last... Actually, did appear for one more appearance after this one. Yep. Yeah, it's mostly she Volume Fantastic 4 for an issue, because why the heck not? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, of course, basically, they're there. He reunites with them, teams up with them for the following issue. Really good idea to do this. And you might be thinking, has Tom Taylor ever wrote Fantastic Four before writing this series? No. Not that I can think of. No, not really. He's never wrote a book like this before. Like, he's never wrote the Fantastic Four ever in a comic book. No, seriously, he never actually did. Yeah, as far as I can tell, he never actually wrote, like, the Fantastic Four, book 4. But it's probably a good idea. He probably likes Fantastic Four. And it's a quick 2-part appearance for issues 12 13. And the final issue, just basically like the finale for the series. While else deals with a guy like got power and turn it back on. And of course, finding Shocker along the way too. And Rumor shows up for one more appearance because it's the final issue of the series. So let's have Spider-Man, Miles Morales Spider-Man, Rumor, and Human Torch deal with the power outage. And of course, tracking that particular address. And find some teen hacker. And apparently this hacker, who actually is in the city, actually has a lot of respect for Spider-Man, but basically he's going to face some punishment for this, but I don't think he's going to go to jail for it. Then basically goes off where he goes back to the hospital and that's it. Now, this trade actually was pretty good, but I'm going to give this one a 9.5 out of 10. It's a damn good book, and I do highly recommend it. My final thoughts on the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man by Tom Taylor. Damn good book. And I think this book got replaced with Non-Stop Spider-Man. Yes, I believe it was. It was replaced by that one, and then that book got quickly canceled after only 5 issues. Yes, it was written by Joe Kelly. I will definitely review that someday. And it's just replaced with a miniseries called Savage Spider-Man. Now you might be thinking, why the heck was the series canceled? I have no idea. It's kind of sitting for with Spider-Man. I kind of felt as though maybe Tom Taylor wanted to leave the book because maybe got bored, or Marvel just probably canceled because it probably was a big seller for them. That's my personal guess, but in my honest opinion, I don't think it was canceled due to the fact it was not selling too well. I think maybe someone at Marvel, it may be in a similar situation with this book with Amazing Spider-Man, as similar to that with Venom and Scarlet Spider with Spirit Spider-Man, where those books outsold Spirit Spider-Man, and the other 2 books got canceled because of it, which in my opinion was canceled to pure pettiness. This book, I'm not really sure why it ended 14 issues. If I get a chance to meet Tom Taylor, I will ask him that question, why this book ended 14 issues. Alright, next is a book my friend Edgar actually has talked about before. Well, I think he talked about a couple issues of it. I think he did talk about this whole run on his channel. But here's my thoughts on Heroes Reborn, Ironman. This book collects the most of the second volume for this second volume for Iron Man. First 12 out of 13 issues. They also collect the Industrial Revolution tie-in issues from Captain America Volume 2 number 6, Avengers Volume 2 number 6, and Fantastic Four Volume 2 number 6. Now this book does have the heroes version not only of Iron Man, Pepper Potts, Happy Hogan, the Hulk, and She-Hulk, and Betty Ross. And for some reason they included General Ross in here. Yeah, I'm not really sure why in the world we have to have the Hulk appear in an Iron Man book, just appear in the Heroes Born universe. Yeah, I thought this was kind of weird. And yet, here's the thing. Hulk was still appearing in the regular 616 universe at this point in time, I've read, because he still had his own book at that point. His book was relaunched for about a couple of years at this point. It wasn't relaunched until 1999. This book came out in 1986. Now, the first half of this book was written by Scott Lobdell, a writer who at the time was still working at Marvel, but not at Image, because basically Heroes Reborn was done by the Image creators. About half of them anyways. Yes, so the artwork of this book was done by Jim Lee. Yep. Yeah, it's mostly put, these are your writers, that Scott Lobdell was mainly the writer of the first 6 issues, and then of course he got replaced halfway through the book with Jeff Loeb. Not really sure why, it just happened to be that way. The other writers are Brandon Choi, Walt Simonson, and Rob Liefeld. Yes, Liefeld, because he basically did Captain America. The artwork in this book is done by Weiss Paccio, Ryan Benjamin, Ian Churchill, Terry Schmicker, Rob Lamb, Brett Booth, Michael Ryan, Ed Baines, Joe Bennett, Robert Tennessee, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Anthony Wynn, and Mike S. Miller. Yeah, mostly put, you just have... Oh yeah, this book also contains not only those 12 issues, but also contains the Heroes Reborn one shot, which is... Basically, this book was the introduction to Captain America and Iron Man to the Heroes Reborn universe. Yep, and it's kind of a similar deal where basically you have the split book, and this book will lead to 2 ongoing series. My guess is that Marvel at the time must have thought, oh, let's do the same thing for this book, this volume we did for the first volume for this book, which was released back in the 60s. Yeah, let's do this Iron Man / Submariner one-shot, which did lead to 2 ongoing series. Iron Man lasting for 333 issues, while in the case of Submariner, I think his lasted for about 64, I think it was. Yes. And this half one-shot, basically just introduction, just have basically Bill's armor. No mention of Ho Jansen here, the fact he went to a cave. There's no mention of that. It's all Heroes Reborn stuff. And you might think, okay, does he fight the Mandarin in these issues? Nope. Who does he fight of his villains? He fights Living Laser, Unicorn, and that's it. Those are the only villains he fights. A couple points, he does fight Fantastic Four. Oh, and by the way, his introduction to this universe is done on a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. And by the way, this issue has a guest appearance by the Fantastic Four. Yeah, and this issue also has building his armor. His armor he would wear for pretty much the whole run. Yep, the whole year-long run this run is. It's not a terrible run per se. And then we have a variant of the Silver Centaurian armor. Yes, that was interesting to see. Excuse me, yep. Now, I'm not really a big fan of the artwork very much. This is done by Weiss Paccio. It's okay. A bit too much shades of black at some points. It just doesn't look very good. I mean, the colors look really good. It's just that some of the style doesn't fit. This is just my opinion anyways. My friend Edgar might agree on this one too. I think this artwork style does not fit Iron Man. Yes, for some reason it just doesn't fit him per se. And we actually have this one woman, which I believe is supposed to be, they actually have Hydra in this book. That's why like Hydra is deals with most with Captain America and Nick Fury. Yes, this apparently is supposed to be this universe version of Viper. I'm like, wow. They gave her short hair, made her a bit older, and gave her a big chest. Yes, seriously, they gave her a big chest. Also, for some reason, I'm not really sure why this is. Apparently, this artist has had to make these characters look a little bit older than they actually are. I mean, Tony Stark is presumably supposed to be in his mid to late 30s. Here, he looks like he's in his 50s. Yeah, but they do kind of fix this later on. Look, let's say Viper. Very beautiful woman. Very muscular. Yes. That I thought was kind of weird because Viper, for some reason, now if you see her in the regular universe, she is pretty thin. Not like skin and bones per se, but she's pretty thin, but she's still a very beautiful woman. Here, she's a bodybuilder. Yeah, for some reason, they made her a freaking bodybuilder. Yep, and then at the end of the first issue, we have debut of the Hulk. Yep, and there you go. Debut of the Heroes Reborn Hulk. Yeah, for some reason they made Hulk a character in this book. I don't know. If I get a chance to meet Lobdell again, I'm going to ask him, like, why did you make the Hulk a character in your run for Iron Man? And he's here for pretty much most of this run. And you might be asking, was he ever offered to join the Avengers? Surprisingly, yes, he was. And they never did anything with that. Nope, not really. And of course, issue 2 has to continue with... It's a little better, per se. But still, not really a big fan of the art style. Like the writing, I think Lobdell definitely does a great job writing Iron Man. At least writes him a character. And also, he made the Hulk very talkative. Yes, it's quite interesting though. Especially since this period of time when these issues were coming out, Hulk was not that talkative. Well, unless of course he had the brain Bruce Banner, which they did it for some reason. Yep. And also, probably to make sure the fact these books are all connected, let the Fantastic Four make several guest appearances in this book. Because, of course, they have to. It's the Marvel Universe. Now you might be thinking, what was this a regular thing for Fantastic Four to do over the years? Make guest appearances in Iron Man? Outside their own book? No, not really. This is mostly something you do for Spider-Man, not for Iron Man. Yeah, I do not know why. And oh yeah, they give Madame Hydra this this goofy outfit, which yeah. And then we have Heroes Reborn Whirlwind show up here. Yes, Whirlwind, who I should point out though is not an Iron Man villain. Nope, he isn't. You might be asking, whose enemy is he? He's a Hank Pym villain. Well, when he was Ant-Man. No, I'm not kidding about that. Yes, for some reason, this is probably by far the first and only fights. And it's like 3 issues in. Oh yeah, let's have him fight a villain. And then we have issue 4. Have this hilarious opening. We have Ross smoking a cigar, lying in a hospital bed. Says, this is his first line. Bring me the head of the Hulk. And he's in the hospital. Also, for some reason, they have Betty Ross basically like she's a femme fatale. Also, she's hot. I would say at this point she's probably more beautiful in the Heroes Reborn universe than she was in 616. Yeah. Though also, for some reason, like all of the women in this universe, let's give all these women big breasts. No, I'm not kidding about that. Because it seems as though her chest size has gotten bigger in this universe. You might say her chest her chest evolved. You might be thinking, really? You're throwing in a Pokemon style section in the window. It's my channel. What the heck would you expect? It's my videos. I can do whatever the heck I want with them. Yep. And I'm totally just chillaxing. Yeah, then he ends up fighting the Living Laser, which, that's him. Let's see if I can find him here. No, that's not the page. There it is. That's the Living Laser of Heroes Reborn. He is an Iron Man villain. Oh yeah, he is. He is actually still around this very day. I think the last time Iron Man fought him was when Karen Gillian was on the book. Mm-hmm. After he shows up, I think next he runs the frickin' unicorn. Actually, it's Whirlwind. Yep, Whirlwind. Yes, for some reason they throw in Whirlwind, which is kind of weird. And I still ask the question, why the heck would you include an Ant-Man villain to fight Iron Man? Iron Man's got a rogues gallery. It's not that well known of a rogues gallery, but he has one. So why would you steal someone else's villain like Whirlwind? Yep. Well, I should probably wrap this up soon because I've been talking for about half hour for these two trades. It's just that the Heroes Reborn, I mean, aside from the fact that we actually have, oh look, here's the front view of Madame Hydra. Yep. Very, like, a lot, I would say this is a lot more villain of an outfit than Viper of the 616 universe. Yep. Yep, and then of course Danny meets up with the Avengers for the Industrial Revolution crossover. Yep. Yeah, and this is one of 3 crossovers this universe does. The other 2 are Heroes United and World War III. And World War III practically in this universe. Now, since oh, by the way, during the Industrial Revolution, we actually have the Hulk, think about frickin' Onslaught. Yes, Onslaught. I think because Scott Lobdell created him, so let's have him show up in the book. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and here's oh my gosh. Like on this cover, we have the infamous image of Captain America drummer Rob Life with a thick chest hair, and then we have appearance by freaking Cable. Yes, Cable. Yeah, then we have some snippets like, oh, let's have it where we go to the 616 universe, have a brief guest appearance in the pages of X-Men. Yes, where you have Heroes Reborn Iron Man make a guest appearance in X-Men number 65. And this is only here for a few pages, and then we're back to Iron Man. Yeah, and then we have a change of artwork. Well, slightly anyways. Also, for some reason, Madam Hydra is older. Yes, for some reason, the artist has had to make her older. Yes. I do not know why. It's kind of weird, though. Like, she looks like she's presumably in her 60s, despite the fact she's supposed to be younger. And then, of course, oh yeah, now I finally fixed it. Yeah, and then, of course, like, then we have the romance between Pepper and Happy. We have a kiss, and then having her take off her shirt. Yes, you know what that means. They're having sex. Because, of course, they are. They do that in the 616 universe, so I guess they'll know that. Why not? And then you have an original villain called Rebel, who apparently was in this universe first Iron Man. Yeah, he fights him for a few issues. Plus, love this close-up of Iron Man's face. Yeah, gives you a look at the armor. I like the colors. I'm not really a big fan of the armor itself. No, not really. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and after they wrap up the Rebel story arc. And for some reason, the book's writer gets replaced by Jeff Loeb. Excuse me, then we have more guest appearance by Fantastic Four. There's mention here about the Titanium Man. Yes, the Titanium Man. And does not appear in the book at all. No, not really. Actually, wait, here he is. Here is born Titanium Man. Yes, a character who is an actual Iron Man villain. Yes. Yes, it is. And then we have Terrax Tamer. Yeah. It's like his appearance is completely random. I call Terrax terrible, but yeah. It's Terrax Tamer. Yeah, his appearance felt completely random. So apparently after fighting for a couple issues, they're apparently partners. Yeah, Rebel and Iron Man. Mm-hmm. And look, more Vipra. And they change her costume again. Yep, they change her costume. And then we have a Hulk villain pop up in this book. Yes, a Hulk villain. The Abomination. Yes, seriously. We have the leader, we have the Hulk, we have Betty Ross. I'm like, what, was there plans? Yeah, and then we have this guy here, who apparently, this Chinese guy here apparently is the Heroes Reborn Mandarin. We got their own Mandarin, and then we have, oh crap, it's Doctor Doom. Yes, who, by the way, in this universe actually joined the Avengers. Yep. And that kind of leads into a issue where, oh yeah, we have him work together for one issue. And this was actually the first time these two have worked together since Iron Man 250. I'm not kidding about that. Yep. And then we basically have Hulk transported to apparently Earth 616, where he meets the 60s versions of Thor, Hulk, and Iron Man during the day just before they found the Avengers. And this is, of course, 616 Avengers. And then we have him show up when Ben Grimm was a freaking pirate. That's a good Silver Age nod. Yeah, Ben Grimm was a pirate. And then we have Rima Tut, a.k.a. King the Conqueror. Yep. And then we have Wizards of the Grave. And the Watcher shows up. Yes, the Watcher. Though, this could be 616 Watcher or Heroes Reborn Watcher. It's not stated. And then we have basically the last issue, issue 11, end with an appearance by Heroes Reborn, Doc Samson, Heroes Reborn She-Hulk, and Heroes Reborn the Hulk. Yes. It's weird, though. Jeff made one appearance prior to this, and now she's She-Hulk. Okay. Why? And then we pretty much have the Heroes United crossover, basically with the thing that kind of almost ends this particular run. Yep. And then, of course, we have World War III, and that was it for this run. Yep. I gotta admit, writing-wise, I think Loeb did a great job of the book. I think not just Loeb, but also Lobdell. Both of them did a great job of this book. And this kind of, in a way, concludes, basically, well, talking about Ironman Volume 2. Because I've already discussed issue 13, so officially now I've got a volume done for Iron Man. Yep. So whenever I get done Iron Man Volume 3, I can kind of say got from 97 to present done, because the relaunch book after this symbol, that's all done. From that point forward up until present day, they're all done. Yep. And now I got this done. Yep. So yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for this particular, and that's going to be a video today, because no more time videos tonight. So, until I see you all tomorrow for my reviews of Free Up, How Real So Build the Kingdom, Case of Vanitas, and Shaman King. No, there is no case goes tomorrow. So 4 anime tomorrow. Okay, next video. Bye.